you're working on what you showed was a DHA project, a DoD project, and the SEPS2BIM, the initial setup. Obviously, SEPS is shared between the DHA and VA. The SEPS2BIM process of getting it into BIM was developed further by the VA, but you're actually using it for a DHA project because the underlying data is the same. And as you showed, you had some edits you had to do, but that's kind of the next step that would be interesting if DHA refines what VA started here and aligns more. But that's one statement. I guess a question, if you have any more comments on that, that'd be great.
Well, we love that. That was super appealing to us. At least they share the 1691 library for all their medical equipment and same JSNs. I'm happy to tweak a couple parameters to have that library outsourced and all the parameter information correctly inputted for us.
How big was this approximately? What size project was this clinic that you showed?
I think this was our 50,000 square foot clinic.
From the SEPS output, that's still a substantial amount of data for a small clinic,
right?
With all the parameters and everything. Right, that's great. So it's obviously there's hours saved, but more importantly, it's the accuracy and the reduction of errors and the benefit that goes back to the owner from a design perspective. But you're providing them the service, so like you said in the beginning, you're making the owner happy and what they're getting back.
Right.
Yeah. And at the HFI conference, Renee Tejan from VA stressed the fact that owners have a lot of data like this, but typically it's in a bad format. The rules essentially that they described, and these being in this format now, it seems like you're actually you're directly tapped into their rules to be able to generate and work on the design. You obviously still have to refine the design after that, but it's an input that you're getting from them that's of value, it seems like.
Right. That's really valuable because right now a lot of our clients never open the Revit model that we give them, that we're required to give them. They just use the EOMSI report we give them that does that big Kobe extraction and has all the assemblies and everything embedded in that. At some point, they will open and find more uses for the Revit file that we gave them, and it'll be nice that it's all uniform and same naming convention, same appearance, same all that.
Great.
The naming is interesting. The naming is interesting with DoD, that they have their BIM guide, because even in SEPS, they have the option to name those fields differently. The VA and MH and the DoD, but they are not naming, coming out of SEPS. They're not naming their attributes or their parameters in the way that they're requiring for you to name them afterwards in the BIM guide, which is kind of interesting to say the least. It's like
I wish they would update the BIM guide to match.
No, either update the BIM guide or update SEPS to match. The other thing is that the attributes for the spaces, like those attributes that we are not importing right now, the only reason why we're not importing them is because we've focused on VA, and those attributes are not actually VA, they're only the DoD attributes. And so I think we should probably adjust it so that when you select the DHA import, in the template, when you import into Onuma, that it actually imports those as well and exports them as well, so that you have them afterwards in there without doing the copy paste. But that's a different thing that we have to discuss.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's something we should talk about in the little chat afterwards. In presenting this to y'all a couple weeks ago, now you're working on grouping, and there may be a way to automate 2 of these steps that we have to take. And, time reduction and chances for error go down again.
Yeah, I guess it's the point that there's always going to be refinements that could happen once we start understanding. Once the owner starts getting their data out, then you start using it and you start interacting with them like this conflict between SEPS and the BIM guide is an interesting one that DoD should know about. Because every architect's going to run into that, I would assume, as they go through this process. So. Great. That's actually good to hear. And in the webinar next week, we will actually start by showing the shopping cart and then build up to your presentation. So we'll have shown that, and maybe that's a good discussion point too. How can this be used? And the fact that VA and DoD has put this data out, it could have a potential impact on other types of owners that would be doing healthcare or even non-healthcare type projects. That's what we're seeing.
A lot of our clients on the private side, the thing we have to explain over and over again is architecture is not an off-the-shelf solution, but your product is making it more off-the-shelf or helping us more quickly. And
that's interesting to hear. Yeah, and we don't. Yeah, we think of it also as a good starting point. You obviously still have to design around it. That's the creative and the value added part of it, not necessarily counting pieces of furniture and figuring out what goes in the room, but helping the owners and the architects get there faster and more accurately. And
it helps us get traction earlier. We can sit there and spin our wheels. What do you think you need? And talk about a blank sheet of paper, or we can put a room layout in front of them, 3 dimensions, and let them talk about real objects. We're thrilled. We're glad that you've taken an interest in us and helping our workflow. And this should really. There's no reason not to use it. It should catch fire as soon as people are aware of it.